Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our politics panel on the collection of Separatist petition signatures south of the border. But first, new political dynamics coming to the legislature.
Continuing to point out where the UCP government is not focused on things that Albertans care about is going to be something that we continue to see both from the official opposition, the independent member, and now the new Tory party member.
Yeah, opposition House Leader Christina Gray on working with the newly launched Progressive Tory Party of Alberta, which will land in the legislature for the first time when Airdrie Cochrane MLA Peter Guthrie returns to his seat with the start of the next sitting. And the leader of the new Progressive Tory Party of Alberta joins us now. Mr. Peter Guthrie, good to see you again, sir. Welcome back.
Hi, Michael. Good to see you.
All right. You're heading into this next sitting under a whole new banner. How would you define the Tory party identity?
Well, you know, right now we have actually on both sides, you have populist parties that exist right now. In current government right now, we have a populist separatist government that thrives more on division and control rather than providing stable, competent leadership. So that's what we're going to be looking to do, is to establish ourselves as a party that is actually fiscally responsible, one that believes in limited government, actual accountability and transparency, but taking that a step further with enforceable consequences. And I think foundationally, too, it's that we believe in Alberta remaining a strong part of Canada. And I think something that's really missing from this government is that piece about a socially reliable government, one that is respectful, compassionate, professional. So I think those are the elements that we'll be focused on as we head into our first session as the Tory party.
Yeah, and you've said this is a party for those who feel politically homeless in Alberta, and that could be a pretty broad spectrum. How do you fit all those ideologies under one umbrella?
Well, we're hearing a lot of that. That's probably one of the number one things that we hear is, one, I don't have a political home. And then number two is, you know, what has happened to normal, stable, boring government that is governing for the needs of the people versus trying to just be disruptive and conflict-oriented. And that rise of populism over the last 15 years has really done that. And it works especially well in two-party systems where you can drive a wedge and you can create emotion and drive people to make decisions and to the ballot box based upon that level of emotion. You know, what we're going to be there doing is trying to bring about some professionalism and analyzing, using logic, reason, data, analysis, expert opinion in order to formulate our policies and platforms as we move ahead.
Okay, we heard Opposition House Leader Christina Gray a moment ago. What approach do you plan to take in maybe potentially collaborating with the NDP?
You know, when I started in politics, I got in at the age of 50 years old. I was somebody who had experience as an engineer, farming and ranching, small business. When I entered politics, I actually thought that behind the scenes parties did work together. I thought that was okay. You have the show, the theater that you have in question period, but that they actually did work together. And I think that that's something that is seriously missing from politics today. There's got to be ideas that both sides bring to the table that are important for Albertans and effective for Albertans, and we should be working together and collaborating to try to introduce those. So I would see a little bit more of that start to happen, but that remains to be seen.
Maybe to follow up on that, how does MLA Scott Sinclair fit into your picture? The understanding is he remains an independent. Yet, only had to remember back to last summer when the two of you were pitching the progressive conservative branding for a new party.
You know, this has been really difficult. The UCP have done everything that they can to get in our way. There has been multiple threats of litigation, formal litigation, court injunctions. They even brought forth legislation to stop us from being able to create the Progressive Conservative name by banning the word conservative. Further to that, the UCP have gerrymandered out Scott Sinclair's riding up in Lesser Slave Lake. So I think, Scott is trying to deal with all of those things. We still do have a court case over our heads. So, I think Scott is just trying to deal with his constituency and those matters that are before us. So, I'm not pressuring him. I'll just let him kind of work through it. And certainly he and I have a good working relationship, and we'll be working together heading into the ledge, even though we're not in the same party at this moment.
Okay, a lot of focus at the moment on Edmonton MP Matt Jeneroux crossing the floor to sit with the federal Conservative government. How much effort do you put into potentially luring other MLAs into your fold, be they members of the caucus you previously sat with or from the opposition?
That decision is very personal to the MLA themselves, and I think that there needs to be a realization from those MLAs as to the side that they are on, the side that they're choosing. And I know some of my former colleagues, as an example, they have a lot of the same information before them that I do, and I know that it's causing them consternation because I've heard directly from some and indirectly from others. So I wouldn't count that out from happening, but I'm not spending a lot of time on that. We have a lot of work ahead of us at the Tory party, so we're focusing on finding and recruiting good candidates, creating constituency associations, and bringing volunteers on board. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and that's where my focus has been. Okay,
I have time for one more question for you.
Sure.
With so much division and debate building over the separatism push, how do you feel that particular issue should fit into the sitting ahead?
Well, I think this is going to be a key. I believe in, as Alberta should be remaining a strong part of Canada, and we should be advocating with all of our might to do that. But it should be done with Alberta leading through collaboration. I'm somebody who's traveled across this country and around the globe, and I have a lot of respect for our country. My son serves in the Canadian military. As a kid, I lived abroad, and it was during the Iraq-Iran conflict, and we had to flee a war zone at that time, and it was Canada that came through for our family. So it may not be perfect, but Canada is the envy of the world, and I'm going to do everything that I can to defend it. So I do believe that that will be a central focus coming up for the next possibly up to a year to this independence vote. And I do think it's fascinating that we are hearing rumors of various UCP MLAs signing the independence petition. I know of a handful that have signed, and there was certainly no rumors of them signing the Forever Canadian campaign when it was circulating.
All right, which I believe you did sign yourself.
I did, yes.
All right. Okay. Afraid we have to leave it there for time. But as always, appreciate your time, Mr. Guthrie. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Michael. Good chatting with you.
Peter Guthrie, leader of the new Progressive Tory Party of Alberta. From the pending arrival of a third party in the Alberta legislature to the Separatist petition collecting signatures south of the border and the building reaction to an Alberta MP crossing the floor. Time now for tonight's politics panel. And joining us this evening, Sarah Elder, founder of the political fashion brand Madam Premier. She's the host of the Briefing Note podcast and a former political staffer. And Chris Spearman, former mayor of Lethbridge. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with the Progressive Tory Party of Alberta preparing to land in the legislature. Sarah, we just heard from the Tories' one and only MLA, Peter Guthrie, off the top. How big a deal is it that there will now be a third party in the legislature joining the governing UCP and the opposition NDP?
I really think that it's up to Peter Guthrie to define the destiny of the Progressive Tory Party. That's quite the name. If they remain at one MLA, or we'll have to see in 2027. But I think what they should be most concerned about as a party is voters being concerned with vote splitting in the next election and not willing to be wanting to take a risk on splitting the vote. Either way, depending on what side of the political fence, either UCP or NDP. And so that could just block them out of seats, like we saw what happened with the Alberta Party, just kind of fade away. But we'll have to see what transpires over the next days, weeks, and months and a year, I guess.
Chris, how do you see the arrival of the Progressive Tory Party of Alberta in the legislature impacting the political dynamic in our province?
Well, I think he's building a brand, Mr. Guthrie, and I think he's a very good communicator. He's got a great start, but he also recognizes he's got a big challenge ahead of him. I think even Peter Lougheed, it took him a couple of attempts before they were elected as the government, and I think he knows that he has to attract good candidates and he has to attract financing. But he's doing an excellent job. I admire his initiative. And there's a lot of progressive conservatives who are just sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. And hopefully he can inspire them to become re-engaged in politics again in Alberta.
Sarah, in landing in the ledge, where do you see Peter Guthrie making potential inroads as he works, to Chris's point, to build the party to the point of election readiness? Is there an issue he could capitalize on?
I mean, it seemed from his comments that he really wants to capitalize on the separation issue. I think he more or less labeled the UCP as a separatist party. The NDP is also taking the angle with their pledge about Alberta staying in Canada. I'm wearing this today. I just want to make it clear because of the hockey game, as well as being obviously, a supporter of Canada as a sovereign nation, as a Canadian first. But where this leads us, I'm afraid this is kind of going to be a COVID 2.0 in terms of the division and separation that it causes within the province and politics, and if it leads us in a worse place than we started. My concern is that this has become way too political. I wish we're not talking about separation. I wish we were talking about growing and building the economy, about investing in healthcare and education, about addressing the needs of Albertans, but here we are.
Here we are indeed. And to carry on the conversation, it appears the collection of signatures for the petition that's pushing for an Alberta referendum on separation will move south of the border this weekend. A post to social media by the group Stay Free Alberta notes a signing event for Alberta snowbirds Saturday at a business in Yuma, Arizona. And according to Elections Alberta, it's all good. In a statement to CTV Calgary, it notes that legislation does not prohibit signature collection outside the province and that canvassers be registered with Elections Alberta. Chris, what's your read on the need to collect petition signatures in the U.S.? Is this as simple as thinking outside the box?
Well, I think they're trying to get as many signatures as possible. My initial thought was they seem desperate. They seem worried about achieving the goal, even though the bar has been lowered for them. But if Elections Alberta is not opposed to this and the legislation doesn't prevent it, I think, in one way it generates publicity, and that's what they're trying to do as well. They seem to be trying to generate more publicity than actually gather signatures. And some of their signature locations have been pathetic here in Alberta. I guess they'll try down south. And Elections Alberta is going to verify the validity of all the signatures. They're going to do testing. They will allow some. I think 5% of the Forever Canadian ones were disallowed. I think they got about 467,000 signatures, and about 430,000 were validated. So I think the same process will apply. And all signatures. Americans won't be able to sign this.
Sarah, what kind of shadow do you see this potentially casting over separatist petition efforts? Or is it fair play in your opinion?
It might be fair play as per the legislation, but I don't think it's a good look at all. I think it just sends a signal that, to even the poster having the Alberta flag joined with the flag of Arizona, I think will put a lot of people off. And, it'll be interesting. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to cover this event in Arizona. But you know what? The thing that I think snowbirds really love? Healthcare. Canadian healthcare. And so the pitch to have them sign this petition, I think when we get down to the brass tacks of what's really at stake in terms of pension, in terms of healthcare, in terms of all of the things that snowbirds love, while also loving traveling to the U.S. for some sunnier months every year, I don't think it's going to be a pitch that is well received.
All right, time for us to take a bit of a break. But when we come back, followed from Alberta MP Matt Jeneroux crossing the floor to the Liberals. More from our politics panel in a moment. Welcome back. Matt Jeneroux's decision to cross the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals is drawing mixed reaction. Here's some of what voters are saying in the MP's Edmonton Riverbend riding.
Well, I voted Liberal in the last election, and obviously Mr. Jeneroux was elected here. And so I'm just pleased that he crossed the floor and we're that much closer to a majority government.
The man's a coward. He's a liar.
Do you feel betrayed?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, people here did not vote for a Liberal government, and that's who he's supporting.
There were rumors late last year that Jeneroux would cross the floor, but instead announced at the time he would be resigning as an MP in the months ahead. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre responding in a social media post accusing Jeneroux of betraying his constituents and that the Prime Minister is trying to seize a Liberal majority through dirty backroom deals. Sarah, floor crossings involving Alberta politicians haven't always gone well. Case in point, Danielle Smith and 8 other MLAs leaving the Wild Rose to join the governing Progressive Conservatives back in 2014, a party that Matt Jeneroux just happened to be in an MLA with at the time. What's your take on Wednesday's development?
Well, I mean, it's in the historical context of thinking about what happened with Danielle Smith. Look where she is now. She's the Premier of Alberta. So, although Albertans can be very vocal and have very strong opinions at the time, I think they can also be very forgiving. So this will ultimately be a decision left to the voters of Jeneroux's riding, and we'll have to see if they either support his decision or not. But I think that the outrage is a little bit outrageous, actually, because everybody loves a floor crosser when it's to their best interest, to their party. And so I think everyone should just take a breath on this and let it play out, and we'll see what happens in the next election.
Chris, 3 floor crossings and all from different parts of the country, the Maritimes, Ontario, and now Alberta of all places. What does that suggest to you?
Well, I think people are concerned about Pierre Poilievre's leadership. This is just a few weeks after the convention. Now, recognize that people who went to the convention had to commit to endorsing Poilievre before they were accepted as candidates, but that didn't always play well with everybody in the Conservative caucus. You see different people like this Damel Devani going to the States and getting a slight slap on the wrist from Pierre Poilievre. Other Conservatives in the rest of Canada want to be part of Canada and see other MPs misbehaving and Pierre Poilievre doing nothing about it. And I think that undermines the confidence of Conservative MPs in the House of Commons. You know, he has a strong base here in Alberta and in Saskatchewan, but in the rest of the country, I think his handle on the caucus is not so strong.
Sarah, former Conservative Deputy Leader Lisa Raitt has issued a message to sitting MPs considering crossing the floor, and that's get it over with. Don't draw this out. What's your read on others maybe following Matt Jeneroux?
It's entirely possible. I think that the path to victory for any party right now is moderation, refraining from engaging in really kind of niche issues, whatever they may be, whether it's for the NDP, you know, the Palestine, if it's for the Liberals, well, that's like a whole other thing. But and then for the Conservatives, it's all of these things like, as mentioned, Jamil Javani's trip to the United States. You know, if Pierre Poilievre was to moderate his message, get his MPs and caucus in line, you know, not be so reluctant, in my opinion, to sometimes embrace the flag, the positivity of what it means to be Canadian, to celebrate what it means, just to be a little, again, moderation. There would be more Canadians who I think would be willing to vote for him and for their party and for MPs, but this is entirely up to him. However many people leave after this, if there are any, this is on him to explain and to address.
Chris, how do you see Pierre Poilievre needing to respond to this if he is to retain a firm hold on the party, a firm hold on his caucus?
Well, Pierre Poilievre has received advice from Stephen Harper. He's received advice from Jason Kenney. They are taking a unity message forward. They're attacking separatists. They're saying Canada needs to stand together. And I don't see Pierre Poilievre listening to that. And I don't see any change in tone. And he takes every opportunity to attack the Liberals, attack Mark Carney. And that's not what's needed right now. He needs to give his head a shake, and the people advising him need to make sure that Pierre Poilievre is listening.
Sarah, adding Jeneroux to the caucus edges the Liberals ever closer to a majority, with the need for a trio of by-elections drawing near. Where do you think this maybe leaves the prospect of an early federal election?
I don't think it's a good look for the federal Liberals to have a majority, even if it's, you know, a single MP through floor crossings. I don't think that's exactly what Canadians want to see. You know, I wouldn't be opposed personally to going to an election. It's entirely within the realm of possibilities. In order, Mark Carney could absolutely say, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and I absolutely need a mandate, and I'm going to ask Canadians for it. But as long as Pierre Poilievre keeps this same messaging, the same tone, the same kind of Trumpiness, he's sentencing himself to potentially 4 more years in opposition if he even lasts that long as leader.
Okay, we have to leave it there for time. Great to see you both. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, here are a few responses to a recent story posted by CTV News, and it's about MP Matt Jeneroux crossing the floor to the Liberals, which Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has called a betrayal of his constituents. Ken says he was voted in as a Conservative. The seat should go back up for election. Blue writes, at least we know for sure Matt Jeneroux is not an Alberta Separatist, always a silver lining. Full, that is, thinks could be a sign that things in the Canadian government just aren't working. We need complete and total reform in government and how we are represented. Edie writes, it's hard to understand why the Conservatives can't see that the problem is Poilievre. Have your say email us anytime at comments@albertaprimetime.com. Coming up tomorrow, with the federal government rolling out a Made in Canada defense strategy, we'll hear from an Alberta group seeking a piece of the pie for our province. That's on Friday. Until then, have a great evening, everyone, from all of us at Alberta Primetime. Thank you for watching, and join us again next time.